In the vibrant tapestry of African mythology, tricksters leap from the stories as culture heroes who shape the very world their people inhabit. But don't mistake them for benevolent protectors of humanity. Oh no, these tricksters don't act out of love or kindness. They are driven by pure desire and impulsive urges. You'll find them in the shape of animals, weaving chaos and change, a spider spinning webs of mischief, a cunning hare outsmarting his enemies, a sly jackal slipping between worlds, and even a tortoise, slow but crafty. What do they all have in common? A refusal to follow the rules. What sets the African trickster apart from others? They share many traits with tricksters from Native American traditions, but with a key difference. African tricksters aren't obsessed with sexual exploits. Instead, they often bridge the gap between humans and the divine, making them feel a bit more like gods themselves. Think of Hermes in Greek mythology or Enki in Sumerian legends, messengers and manipulators who play a pivotal role in the connection between mortals and the supernatural. The African tricksters' motives might be self-serving, but the outcomes of their chaotic deeds often benefit society in unexpected ways. Picture this: a character who is deceitful, greedy, even murderous, and at the same time, he's a cultural icon celebrated by parents as they tell stories to their children. How does that make sense? The trickster is a contradiction. He's vain, reckless, and shamelessly breaks the rules. Yet there's something undeniably appealing about him. His antics, outrageous as they are, capture our attention because they show us what it means to defy boundaries, to laugh at authority, and to test the limits of the possible. Despite all the chaos they create, tricksters end up giving their communities something valuable. Their impulsive actions lead to the discovery of agriculture, the establishment of gender roles, or the invention of tools. But do they do these things out of goodwill? Hardly. They're simply following their whims, showing off what they can do, and if humanity benefits in the process, well, that's just a side effect. What happens when a trickster challenges society's sacred rules? He doesn't just break the rules, he shows everyone exactly where those boundaries lie. The African trickster is especially known for this. By violating taboos, he teaches the younger generation what the rules are, even if it's through negative example. He behaves irresponsibly, acts selfishly, and in doing so, defines what should and shouldn't be done. Isn't it curious how this rule breaker ends up being the one who helps establish the rules? By crossing forbidden lines, the trickster draws them clearer than ever before. Why do so many African tricksters take animal forms? Could it be that these stories mirror the stages of initiation rituals? Anthropologists have long noticed that trickster tales follow a pattern similar to rites of passage. First comes separation from society, then a period of liminality, where the individual is caught in an in-between state, neither here nor there, neither fully human nor fully divine. This phase is chaotic, raw, and often dangerous. It's no wonder animals dominate this space. They embody nature's wild, untamed side. The animal trickster stands in for the liminal state, representing the blurry line between youth and adulthood, order and disorder, the old life and the new. Let's take a closer look at one of the most famous tricksters in African mythology, Anansi, the spider. Anansi isn't bound by any shape or form. He can appear however he pleases. This freedom to transform mirrors his position outside the structured world, where rules are more suggestions than commands. Because he operates on the fringes of society, Anansi can lie, cheat, and defy the sacred without hesitation. But somehow, through his antics, he ends up reshaping the very culture he seemed to undermine. It's almost like a ritual. In the same way that a person undergoing an initiation ceremony returns to society with a new status, Anansi's disruptive actions bring about a new understanding of the world. His trickery serves a purpose: to break down the old so that the new can emerge. The individual who was once a child returns from the initiation rite as an adult, ready to take on new responsibilities and contribute to society in a new role. In the following, we'll dive into the world of Yoruba mythology, where a slow-moving tortoise named Ajapa shows us that appearances can be deceiving. At first glance, you might wonder, why would anyone choose a tortoise as a trickster? Aren't tricksters supposed to be quick-witted and nimble? Well, think again. Ajapa may not be fast, but he's lived a long time, accumulating wisdom along the way. And his thick, protective shell makes him untouchable, a clever survivor. In Yoruba myths, he's not just a slow reptile. He's a master of deception, able to captivate his victims with a mesmerizing song before leading them straight into his web of tricks. Our story begins not with Ajapa, but with his friend Aja, the dog, who finds himself in dire straits. Aja has lost everything and struggles to feed his family. But desperation breeds ingenuity, and he hatches a plan to sneak into the fields of wealthy farmers and steal just enough fruits to keep his family fed. He's careful, taking only a few pieces here and there, assuming the farmers won't notice a few missing fruits from their vast orchards. Soon enough, Aja and his family are thriving, well-fed and healthier than anyone would have expected for a family that was on the brink of starvation. But how long could he keep his secret hidden? His friend Ajapa's curiosity is piqued. How is Aja managing to feed his family so well? After some coaxing, Aja reveals his secret and even invites Ajapa on one of his nightly fruit raids. Now Aja is careful by nature. He steals only what he needs, picking 2 fruits before he's ready to call it a night. But Ajapa? He has a different idea. Why stop at 2? He asks. Stealing is stealing whether it's 2 fruits or 20. His words are persuasive, and his enchanting song makes it hard for Aja to resist. He reminds Aja that if they were caught, the dog's panicked yelp would give them both away, so they might as well make it worth the risk. Against his better judgment, Aja helps Ajapa load up as many fruits as they can carry onto the tortoise's back before leaving him to manage the haul. But there's a catch. Ajapa is so weighed down by his greed that he can barely move. Inevitably, he's caught by the farmer and brought before the local judge, who demands to know why he was stealing. Trapped and desperate, Ajapa spins a story. He claims that Aja told him the field belonged to the dog, and the fruits were a gift of friendship. The judge isn't convinced and sends for Aja to hear his side. But Aja is clever, too. He knows his friend and anticipates the tortoise's lies. When the authorities come to bring him in, Aja has already prepared his defense. He has his wife coat him in oil to make him appear feverish, and wraps himself tightly in a blanket, feigning an illness so severe that it seems impossible he could have committed any crime. And he doesn't stop there. Aja tucks 2 raw eggs into his cheeks, and when questioned, he bites down on one, spitting out the contents onto the ground. The officers recoil, believing they've been splattered with his vomit, and rush him to the judge, convinced of his dire condition. Once again, Aja performs his act, vomiting across the judge's floor. The whole room is convinced he is far too sick to have been the cunning thief Ajapa claimed. And just like that, the tables turn. Ajapa is exiled for his lies, greed, and betrayal, while Aja is sent home to his relieved wife, his reputation untouched. The story leaves us with a powerful message. Greed will weigh you down, and deception has a way of coming back to bite you. But what does this tale really teach us? Is it just a clever story about outwitting a friend? Or is there something deeper? Ajapa, despite his mischief, serves as a boundary setter, a figure who shows us the line between right and wrong by crossing it so dramatically. Through his downfall, he defines for us the value of moderation and the consequences of greed. The trickster, in his folly, teaches the audience what the rules are, even if it's by breaking them. So, why the tortoise? Because even the slowest creatures can be the most cunning, the ones you least expect to fool you. Ajapa isn't just a tortoise. He's a reminder that wisdom isn't always straightforward, and that life's greatest lessons can come from the most unlikely places. Through this story, the Yoruba people remind us to be cautious in the face of temptation, to stay humble when fortune smiles upon us, and to remember that even the trickiest trickster can get caught in his own trap. Ajapa's tale isn't just about trickery, it's about human nature, resilience, and the thin line between cunning and folly. It shows us that the trickster's game isn't merely about winning or losing. It's about learning from the journey, no matter how slowly it's traveled. Is the trickster a hero or a menace? He is both. And that's the point. Through acts of deceit and mischief, he brings about transformation. He introduces agriculture, not because he wants to feed the hungry, but because he saw a chance to flaunt his cunning. He establishes gender roles, not because he understands equality, but because he's driven by his desires. The African trickster isn't motivated by altruism, yet his actions shape the world for the better. So, what can we learn from the trickster? That the line between chaos and creation is thin, that sometimes in breaking the rules, we end up making them stronger, and that the trickster's wild, unpredictable spirit isn't something to be tamed, but something to be understood. For in the end, it's not just about the stories we tell. It's about the boundaries we test and the new worlds we create. In the next and final lesson, we will delve deeper into the figure of Anansi. In these stories from Africa, the trickster is not merely a fool, but also a cultural hero. Anansi, often depicted as a clever spider, embodies the dual nature of cunning and wisdom, and plays a pivotal role in shaping the world and its traditions. One of the myths originates from the Ashanti people in present-day Ghana, where Anansi's wit and resourcefulness are celebrated as symbols of intelligence overcoming strength. Another tale involves the sky god Wulbari, in which a recurring motif reflects the complex relationships between gods and mortals, as well as the balance between the heavens and the earth. These narratives not only entertain but also convey deeper lessons about morality, survival, and the importance of adaptability in a changing world.